Hashimoto's thyroiditis is one of the most common autoimmune conditions that people seek medical care for today. Now, it's often misunderstood that traditional Chinese medicine cannot treat autoimmunity because it doesn't exist, because this is prior to modern biochemistry. And I want to share some of the studies today on what Hashimoto's thyroiditis is, East versus West, and how it's actually treated clinically in terms of one lens in traditional Chinese medicine. Hey, I'm Alex Hine, author of the book Master the Day. Now, I've included a free link in the description there below, which is a PDF on 5 daily rituals that can help you add 10 years to your life with traditional Chinese medicine. So you can check it out, the first link there in the description below. So some of the typical symptoms and signs of Hashimoto's tend to be the following. There tends to be constipation, dry and coarse skin, hair that's thin and falling out, nails that are brittle, bradycardia or sore slowing, feeling cold, muscle hypertonicity, anemia, oligomenorrhea or menstrual changes, inability to concentrate and memory loss. Some other primary symptoms are typically fatigue, weakness, weight gain, sensitivity to cold, muscle aches and pains, facial edema, and constipation. Now, in terms of biochemically, obviously, because it's an autoimmune disease, so there have to be certain thyroid antibodies that show up for this to be considered a positive for Hashimoto's. So the principal biochemical characteristic of the disease is the presence of 2 primary thyroid autoantibodies. One is called thyroid peroxidase, and one is thyroglobulin. And these are seen, specifically the thyroid peroxidase is seen in almost 90% plus of patients with Hashimoto's. Now, what do these symptoms mean in terms of Chinese medicine? So the Chinese medicine framework is really based off of tracing these symptoms back to larger patterns going on in the body. So the symptom of fatigue, for example, fatigue can be related to almost any system in the body, but in this pattern, it's most likely related to what's called spleen qi deficiency, or even spleen yang deficiency, and varying kinds of kidney deficiency. So some studies have found that SIBO, or digestive dysfunction, is present in up to 50% of Hashimoto's patients. The other symptom of weakness is also a very nonspecific symptom like fatigue. So weakness can also present related to many different symptoms in the body, but in this, it's possible that it's related to the spleen's ability to, quote, manage the 4 limbs. So when the spleen and digestion are weak, it's described as a feeling of weakness in the 4 limbs for the person. In addition, it could be called yang deficiency. So when a person is feeling run down and their immune system has gotten weak, they tend to be more prone to feeling cold. And this is what we call yang deficiency as one manifestation. Also, circulation tends to be very weak. The symptom of weight gain is often thought of as something related to the spleen as well. Whereas some patients can suffer from a loss of appetite due to dampness, quote unquote, and even loose stools, constipation and weight gain are also common on the other side of digestive weakness. Sometimes this is also combined with an underlying kidney deficiency, which can show up as urinary dysfunction, either urgency, frequency, or nighttime urination, among other things. The symptom of sensitivity to cold is very diagnostic in Chinese medicine. So typically, the main way to analyze this is through quote-unquote yang deficiency. So a person whose kidney yang is weak will often experience generalized symptoms of kidney deficiency, like the aforementioned urinary symptoms as one example, which also include cold. Now, this person is typically already someone who is run down in general and is, quote, deficient and cold, and biomedically speaking, tends to have weak immunity. So constipation, as another example, tends to be indicative of many different states in the body. One of them can be considered a fluid deficiency or a qi deficiency. Another pattern is a blood deficient pattern, which is also why in Hashimoto's you see anemia as a common comorbidity. But in terms of the other patterns, the overall deficiencies we mentioned above, the quote-unquote yang deficiency, when a person is overall depleted, run down, and they're feeling cold, that means the state of the circulation in the body is already impaired. and that can impact the large intestine as well as the small intestine and many other different parts of the body in terms of Chinese medicine. So how are these treated with traditional Chinese medicine? How is Hashimoto's and other autoimmune patterns, how are they treated? Typically, because in Chinese medicine, there's a pattern differentiation made. So what we saw come up a lot here in the research was spleen pancreas, digestive patterns, and then these kidney patterns. So formulas are often used that can work on both of these, the digestion, the kidney, as well as some other patterns as well that I'm trying to omit to keep this as plain English as possible. But generally speaking, the symptoms of cold and fatigue and dry skin, brittle nails, hair falling out, all of these are indicative of certain key patterns that the skilled Chinese medicine physician will be able to treat through certain formulas that can regulate that pattern. So I hope that helps give a brief introduction to Hashimoto's, how it's treated modern biomedically, and how it's treated in traditional Chinese medicine, and how it's diagnosed in those two different medical lenses. Now, of course, if you want to stay in touch, you could check out the free link in the description, which is a free PDF on 5 daily rituals that can help you add 10 years to your life with traditional Chinese medicine. It's the first link there in the description, and then you can come on over, check out my last related videos there and right there.